Matthew Dreyer and Kristen Brya are the founders of a new Acton Academy affiliate microschool, Pace Academy, in North Chesterfield, Virginia, about 10 miles outside of Richmond. Matt retired from a 20-year career in the U.S. Marine Corps and began pursuing his interest in education. He earned a doctorate from the Harvard Graduate School of Education and then teamed up with his niece, Kristen, a mom and successful entrepreneur, to launch their microschool. When Pace Academy officially launches this fall, it will join approximately 300 other Acton microschools in the fast-growing Acton Academy network and will be one of 6 Acton affiliate microschools in Virginia. Matt and Kristen, welcome to the Liberated Podcast.
Thank you, Carrie. Great to be here.
Thank you.
It's great to have you both here. I was thrilled to have a chance to meet you both in person when I visited Richmond this spring to see this kind of growing cluster of education entrepreneurship in the greater Richmond area. And I was able to see your new space that's quickly filling up. You already have 15 students registered for fall, which is just about near capacity for where you want to be for this first year, kind of grow slowly and organically. So it's just great to see there's clearly demand from parents for the learner-driven education model that Acton is so well known for. And just great to, again, see this sort of education innovation emerging in the greater Richmond, Virginia area. So I want to get into why you decided to create Pace Academy, but let's start a little bit with your backgrounds. Matt, let's start with you. So you go from the Marine Corps to Harvard to education entrepreneur. What was that pathway like for you?
Yeah, it was kind of a long path, Carrie. Actually, it began in my undergrad when I was in a teacher prep program and had aspirations to be a high school English teacher. And I knew that during my student teaching time that I really would better serve the students if I actually had a little bit more life experience behind me instead of going right from a college classroom to a high school classroom. So I became a Marine Corps officer, and the intent was to serve for 4 years, and 4 turned into 20. And during that time, I had the great privilege of having a couple of teaching tours provided to me as an opportunity. So I was an ROTC instructor for 3 years. And then I finished my career actually at the Naval War College as a military professor. So when I retired, I knew I wanted to continue serving in some capacity, and education was really just that natural passion for me. So I had the opportunity working on my graduate degree to really immerse myself into the sector, learn a lot about different learning designs, learning models. So when it came time to actually, after graduation, to do something with that degree, I looked around and I said, where is my passion? What have I seen in my 3 years studying the system, and where can I make an impact? And I initially thought that I wanted to be a district superintendent somewhere and take that, 20 years of Marine Corps leadership experience and transfer that into another systems level leadership role. And then the pandemic hit. And, Kristen's going to share a little bit more, about that from her perspective. From my perspective, I got to see the system had an opportunity to really change and, focus on what was really best for children when we returned to learning. And I didn't see that happen. So I said, if I want to see the change in the world, I've got to be the change in the world. And that's where Kristen and I teamed up, and we decided we're going to do that here in the Richmond area.
So great. So Kristen, we'll turn over to you. You are a successful entrepreneur. You run several locations of Young Chefs Academy, which run culinary classes for kids. And so entrepreneurship, of course, was familiar to you, but what made you decide to, co-found an Acton Academy with Matt?
Sure. Well, I'm the mom of 4 children, and we have really seen the educational landscape from lots of different perspectives with them throughout the years. My youngest is our founding student at Pace Academy here, And we're so excited for that. But really, the journey with him these last couple of years is really what put me in line to look to Matt and decide that we needed to make a real change and an impact. Prior to COVID, he was in parochial school, and then we moved and he became virtual. Watching his frustrations in the first 2 weeks of virtual school led us to homeschool. And that was our first experience with homeschooling. There were so many benefits to that we had not had the opportunity to see before. But there were also, as a business owner and being busy, there were aspects of it that there are needs that I can't meet in that role. So he tried school again, and we found out that anxiety and panic attacks were happening because of tests in second grade. And my heart really just broke for him. In second grade, what I wanted to see was a love of learning, and, he should be excited to go to school. And instead we were up and having anxiety attacks and not wanting to go to school, and just realizing that there has to be a better way to do this. Would he be fine? Yes. Could we have managed? Yes. But fine and managing is not good enough. And again, we've had so many conversations over the years, even prior to that. I think Matt and I talking about how it could be different, what we would do if we could do it, and sitting on the sidelines waiting for someone else to do it is just, it wasn't okay anymore. And we wanted to make an impact and use the knowledge and the experience we had to make that happen.
Such an important reflection. I think, so many parents listening can relate to this idea that with your second grader, you want them to have a love of learning and to be joyful and happy in whatever educational environment they're in, not to be having panic attacks. It's just so sad to think about anxiety in these young kids. That really detracts from how special learning can be for them. And so you, much to your credit, were able to see that it was time to build something, to build an alternative. So then how did Acton Academy end up on your radar for the both of you? Was this something that you discovered, Matt, when you were in graduate school? Was it after? How did that come to be for you?
So it actually occurred kind of on a chance, Carrie. I was in a symposium with other educators, and I decided to attend a breakout session led by an Acton owner, Tyler, down at the Forest School. And we participated in a Socratic discussion. And after about 15 minutes of us adults all really engaging in this very important topic about the future of work, what that was, our facilitator shared with us that, yeah, congratulations, you just participated in a middle school Socratic discussion that we do here at the Forest School. So at that point, I was like, okay, Kristen, I think we found the learning model that we're looking for. And so I reached out to Tyler, had a great conversation with him, and then we explored Acton and reached out to Jeff and Laura and applied, and we're thrilled that we were accepted into the Acton network.
So I've mentioned Acton Academy many times on this podcast, but it is a rapidly expanding microschool network with roughly 300 microschools globally, also in more than 30 US states. Founded in 2009 by Laura and Jeff Sandifer in Austin, Texas, and really focuses on learner-driven education. And like you mentioned, the Socratic method. So in addition to that Socratic experience you went through, what was it about learner-driven education that you found so appealing? Could either of you?
Yeah, so I'll go back to my time in the Marines and working with hundreds and thousands of young 18 and 19-year-olds that came to us. And I remember thinking, even, back as a young officer, that seeing the people who were successful were the people who had agency over their decisions, which seems paradoxical in the Marines, but it's actually, quite relevant that a person has to be able to assess a situation, be able to provide feedback, and really, make the team better and stronger. So the folks that were able to do that really had a sense of agency about themselves, and they had no problem speaking up if they disagreed with an order or if they saw an opportunity to make something better. So I looked at the life skills and the executive functioning and all that. And I saw that really reflected back in the Acton Academy model. So from very early age, we're putting giving the learners the opportunity to engage and take ownership of their own learning, follow their own passions. And our job as adults is to set the environment for them and to give them the opportunity to take what is really rightfully theirs, which is, control of their life, and help shape that in a way that they can realize their unique gifts and talents. So when we discovered the Acton model, I was like, okay, Kristen, we don't have to build this from scratch. It already exists. And let's go ahead and bring it here to Richmond.
And Kristen, what about for you? What was it that you found so appealing about the Acton model and learner-driven education?
Well, I think as a business owner and a parent, watching what I did at Young Chefs Academy for so long and watching the children there excel when they were doing something they were passionate about. When they're in the kitchen, they're doing reading and science and math without even knowing, and they're just empowered by that. I think so for bringing that into the classroom setting and the education setting in the bigger picture for me was really exciting. And then just the more I learned about Acton and the more people we talked to and the students that we met that were in those environments is just so impressive. And I knew I wanted that for my own child. Like just seeing how well-spoken the launch padders who are the high schoolers in that environment can be. I'm like that. As a parent, I don't think I could ask for anything more for my child. So I get more excited every time I talk about it.
It is so exciting. I think it's also really interesting, Matt. I had on the podcast previously James Lomax from Life Skills Acton Academy in Las Vegas. He's a retired U.S. naval officer. So there seems to be a pathway from U.S. military service into education entrepreneurship, and great to see more of that. And the two of you with your incredible Actons. So when you were accepted into the Acton network and then kind of got to work on really figuring out launch steps, I'm sure it was really easy to find a location, right?
I would say finding a location has actually been one of the largest hurdles we have faced in this process. A little hard to define with the county what we are doing. I don't know that on a local level people really get the picture yet of what a smaller micro school or small private school is going to look like. So it's hard to find those zoning laws and things that we fall into. Matt.
Yeah, I would say that when we started this process, we said, okay, we want to be a private school. We don't want to be a homeschool co-op. One of the, it's called the foundational or the secret sauce of Acton is the learner-driven community. And to do that, we felt strongly that that needed to be a full-time 5-day-a-week learning experience. And so when we looked up the state regulations and the county regulations, we said, okay, we're a private school. And private school is defined as something other than what we really are here in Virginia. So the state defines it as, looking at something like a 500, 1,000, 2,000 person building. And, one parking spot for 15 learners and all those other things are like, hey, we're not that. So when we were looking for a place, it was really important for us to find something that supported our learning design and was something that we didn't have to, build ourselves. So we found ourselves really fortunate when a local church reached out to us, and this is about location number 12 that we were looking at. And fortunately for us, they were zoned correctly for us, and they were very excited about what we're doing. So we're super fortunate to have them as a partner moving forward on this.
And it really is a breathtaking space. You have a large section of kind of rented space from this church, wide open classrooms, lots of sunlight, lots of space for the kids to move around, and 15 acres of trails that you have access to behind the church setting. So really despite all of those hurdles, it seems like it worked out for you, but you do bring up like important barriers that so many education entrepreneurs encounter around zoning, around finding space that's suitable for a microschool, as well as that's zoned correctly. And then this idea of these sort of small learner-centered mixed stage learning environments that don't fit conventional definitions of private schooling and often can make it difficult for education entrepreneurs to get started. So all of these things that you've gone through, but it's worked out in your favor, and now you're set to launch and are really filling quite quickly. You said that you don't want to start the year with more than 20 students. You're already at 15, which is ideal. If you get a few more between now and the start of the next academic year, great, but you're kind of at a good point and have had a lot of interest. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about why parents are attracted to Pace Academy. Why are they enrolling their students?
Start with that.
Yeah. So I think it's because the message really resonates, the message and the vision, right? Like Kristen and I are really have an easy time sharing what makes this learning model so special. And because we're both parents and we both want the best for our children. My child, unfortunately, is, a little bit too old for this, but Grayson, being able to create this for him is really resonates with parents who see that for their own children. So the families that are coming to us come from, wide variety of backgrounds. Some have not experienced the traditional conventional factory model of schooling yet, but they see what's out there and they see what we offer as an alternative. And to them, it's a no-brainer that, of course, a Montessori-based, play-based, nature-based learning environment is much better for their children than a classroom, than the alternative, a classroom of 25 to 30 children. And the ones who have experienced the factory model, they absolutely know that, either it's just as Kristen mentioned earlier, that their kids will be fine in that environment, but they want more than fine, or they've tried it and they've experienced some real challenges with it. So, kids need different things at different points in their lives. And, we are not anti-public education at all. We think that teachers are given a, almost impossible task of, doing moving children along at grade level when they're at all different developmental stages, especially, earlier in life. So parents get that, and they were really, really happy and really inspired by, hearing their stories when they come to tour the school. And it really just validates what we're doing.
Oh, that's great. Kristen, what are you hearing? What do parents want?
Well, I think, they all want their children to thrive. They want them to be in an environment that they can thrive and do their best. And I think they might come looking at us for one reason or another and find that, I think the response I'm seeing is they're like, this works for all children. Why don't we do this for all? They might come for a certain reason, like my child is struggling with this or can't sit still, but really find that the model of this school, the Acton way, works for all children. So I think that's what's exciting to watch, that recognition that this could really just be beneficial to all of their children, even if they were just looking for one specific child.
And your son, Grayson, he's 8 years old now, or 9?
Just turned 9, actually.
Just turned 9. So what is he excited about for this new adventure?
Well, he's already done some practice quests with Matt. Matt has acted as his guide this year. Because our school timeline got pushed back a year, we did decide to homeschool again this year because he did not want to go back to any other environment. So the quest actually was his favorite part of the year so far. They did a survival quest. So I think he's really looking forward to that collaborative part of the education, working on, the project-based learning where he's interacting with other learners. He thrives on that peer interaction and learning in ways that, again, kind of like the cooking school does, it reinforces the math and reading and science in other ways that are engaging to him, where he can see real world application, making it fun. You know?
So great. So Acton Academies are typically set up with separate studios. They're mixed ages, but sort of in typically several developmental stages, what we think of as sort of preschool, elementary, middle school, and high school. Sounds like you're starting with elementary, but I'm curious about how you see kind of the growth strategy.
Right. So we're starting with 2 studios this year, our Spark Studio for learners ages 5 to 7, and then our Discovery Studio for learners ages 8 to 12. And we made the conscious choice not to open a middle school this year, even though we were receiving inquiries for that age range, just because we understand that the longer a child is in a conventional schooling model, the longer and more difficult the unlearning process will be to actually engage in a learner-driven community. Because it's hard. It's more challenging to take ownership of your learning than to just sit there and be told what to do. So we backed off the middle school this year. We have several older learners in our elementary school who we know will be great founding members for our middle school next year. And then as those students age up, we'll open our launch pad in our high school. So it's really taking an intentionally slow, deliberate approach to building a very solid learning community before we grow.
Oh, it's just so exciting. And there's this track record of success with all of these hundreds of Acton Academy microschools around the world that have taken a similar approach, kind of slow and steady, and build the community from the ground up. So it's great to see what you're building there. And I wonder what your sense is of alternative education models, education entrepreneurship in your area around Richmond and also across the US. What is your kind of overall perspective of what's happening here?
I think excited to see a lot of growth in that direction. We've had the opportunity to meet some awesome people along the way who have opened homeschool co-ops and micro schools, and we're really excited to engage with them and help set a new precedent or a new standard to do things.
Yeah, we're excited to meet all these other folks here around the Richmond area. And here's the thing that, I didn't know these people existed, right? Until we started this ourselves. And then we've had people reach out to us. We've been in community with other folks. And we are excited. We believe that the remote learning and the return to school provided that kind of once in a lifetime opportunity for families and parents and educators to see what is possible. And we're offering one version of that, our vision, a learner-led vision, but there are others that work better for other people, and that's great. We think a rising tide lifts all boats. And here in the Richmond area, we want to be part of bringing these different education options to the families so every child can really thrive in an environment that is designed and supportive for their unique learning needs.
Just such a wonderful vision. I want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship in general and education entrepreneurship in particular. And Kristen, go to you as someone who has launched, I guess you could call it an education business with Young Chefs Academy, but more of that kind of small community-based business and now running a school. What is your advice to prospective education entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general? What is sort of different, have you found, in launching a school than maybe in launching Young Chefs Academy? I guess give us the entrepreneurial insight that you uniquely have.
Sure. Well, there's definitely been some differences between opening a retail business and enrichment activity versus opening the school. They both really require a lot of support from the community, but I think the zoning issues that we hit were so different with the school that I was probably taken a little bit aback by that challenge. And I can see where people have been frustrated and people might give up. In fact, we've actually interviewed two people that have tried in the past to open their own schools and quit because of the walls that they have hit. I think
And that was in the Virginia area, or that was elsewhere?
They moved here to the Virginia area. They were living elsewhere prior when they tried to open the school. But I think having the business myself for so long has given me a little bit more resilience. And I think understanding that, you don't give up, and you can't give up if you have this vision to do it. And we strongly believe in what we're doing, enough so that we're willing to fight a little bit for it. So that has definitely helped. And I would say, don't give up, surround yourself with good people, and look to the community. I mean, I think even hearing some of the stories from some of the other micro school owners and hearing what they've done locally can help you navigate what you may have to face getting open.
Great advice. Matt, what would you add? What advice do you have for aspiring microschool founders?
So I would say, first of all, look in the mirror and ask yourself if you believe in this thing enough to really dedicate all your time and energy to it, because that's what it's going to take. It shouldn't be this difficult, but at least right now, and I hope this changes, the bureaucracy surrounding, you doing this is not in your favor, right? So if you're going to overcome that, know that you're going to need that resilience, and finding, if you can, a great business partner who also shares your vision is been absolutely instrumental in, helping us get this far. So reaching out to the community, you put good things out to the world, people respond to that and they want to help. We've had, we talk about the bureaucracy here, but really we're in a county that is very friendly to us and really wants us to succeed. So engaging with the local business community has been very helpful, the Chamber of Commerce, and even reaching out to other private school owners has been very helpful as well. And I think that once, we open and we show what is possible, we hope to inspire others in the area to do the same. And we would love to, share our experiences and our lessons learned with anybody who is trying to do something similar.
Such great tips, and also a great invitation for collaboration. This is something that I'm always struck by when I talk to education entrepreneurs, particularly those in these emerging hubs of microschools and education entrepreneurship. There is this a sense of collaboration, not competition. There is a lot of opportunity to go around. There are different kinds of educational models that serve the needs of different families that kind of align with their own vision and values. And so it's really remarkable to see founders connecting, sharing resources, offering support and encouragement to each other in this new and exciting time in education. So as we wrap up, Kristen, I'd love to just hear from you about what are your hopes for your son as he goes through PACE Academy and kind of this microschool environment that's very learner driven. What do you hope for him in the coming years?
I hope that he can find his path. I know that this environment is going to allow him to become who he's supposed to be without me putting anything on him. And I think just setting that environment where he can discover what his passion is, where there's no projection or shoving him in a box of what he should be or should study or should do. I'm just really excited to see how it turns out in the end, and to really be there to watch that happen and support from the outside as we take this leap of faith, because I know that doing something different like this does require that from a parent standpoint. And I am lucky too that I have 3 other children that I've watched grow and thrive. So I have faith that it's going to work, and I feel really good about what we're doing. And I know Grayson's going to do really well there, and excited to see what he'll do and bring to the world.
So great. Matt, what is the best way for listeners and viewers to connect with you, find out more about PACE Academy, and follow your progress over this opening year?
Sure. Probably if they want to connect with me directly, email is the best way. It's Matt, M-A-T-T, at pacerva.com. And you can check us out at pacerva.com and learn more about our learning model. We're on social media and you can follow us there.
Matt Dreyer and Kristen Brya, thank you so much for being on the Liberated podcast.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.